Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. It's Tuesday, December 8th, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyan. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea will announce its specific plans to ensure delivery of COVID-19 vaccines for more than half of the country's citizens in the coming hour. The government said that it will ensure there are enough vaccines for roughly 60% of the population. Today, Britain becomes the first Western country to begin vaccinations for COVID-19 with a drug developed by Pfizer and BioNTech. And U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien highlighted the importance of faithfully enforcing North Korea's sanctions aimed at denuclearizing the regime while accusing China of lax implementation. Our top story this morning, South Korea's health ministry will announce its specific plans to ensure COVID-19 vaccines for more than half of the country's citizens in the coming hour. The government said in September that it will ensure there are enough vaccines for 30 million people, accounting for 60% of the population. It earlier reported that negotiations for 20 million doses were underway with global pharmaceutical giants. The other 10 million have already been secured through the COVAX facility, a global collaboration that gives equal access to COVID-19 vaccines. And on the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea, the country reported 594 new cases on Tuesday, dropping back below the 600 mark. Despite the slight drop, cluster infections continue across the nation, especially from places where people are in daily contact, such as schools, workplaces, hospitals, and small gatherings. Of the new cases, 566 were locally transmitted, most in the greater capital area, and 28 were from overseas. There have been 3 more deaths, bringing the death toll to 552. Now, the greater Seoul area is now subject to level 2.5 social distancing, the second highest level in the country. Under the measures which came into force at the stroke of midnight, tens of thousands of establishments must close until further notice. The operation of many others will be sharply restricted. Our Cho Won-jung hit the streets of Gangnam to hear directly from Seoulites affected by the changes.
Starting Tuesday, tougher social distancing measures are in place in the greater Seoul area for 3 weeks. After surging COVID-19 cases in the capital area, the South Korean government has implemented the second highest social distancing measures. Disappointing news for gym users. Usually around 180 people exercise at this gym each day, but starting Tuesday, it is going to be empty for 3 weeks. The owner says he's worried about losing even more customers once it reopens.
The main problem is that gym users need to exercise for at least 3 weeks to have a routine. But with the government issuing restrictions almost every 3 weeks, customers are losing the desire to work out, which has made it hard for us to run this business.
This is not the only place impacted by the new measures. The singing rooms and bars were allowed to open until 9 p.m., but now they are completely closed for 3 weeks. And 9 p.m. closing times are applied to movie theaters, PC rooms, hair salons, and department stores. Weddings and funerals are limited to 50 people, and religious facilities like churches can hold services only virtually. The existing restriction remain on the level 2.5 for coffee shops and restaurants, meaning takeout only for cafes and delivery services for restaurants after 9 p.m. Despite many places being shut again, one person thinks these tougher measures are necessary.
I think the stricter social distancing measures are a good idea because we've seen a rising number of cases since Halloween in October. I think it's better to have restrictions in place now that we're approaching the holidays.
In the meantime, health authorities have sent a warning that there's only one higher level left if cases don't slow down under 2.5 distancing measures. Cho Won-jung, Arirang News.
U.S. top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci predicts dark times are ahead as the country continues to witness record-high COVID-19 cases. The expert pointed to a potential surge in January to follow the winter holiday period. Our Choi Min-jung reports.
The most difficult period for the U.S. is yet to come, as the United States continues to witness a rapid surge of COVID-19 cases and deaths. During a COVID-19 briefing with New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Monday, U.S. top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci warned that January could be a dark time for the country.
We could start to see things really get bad in the middle of January. So I think not only for New York State, but for any state or city that is facing similar problems, without substantial mitigation, the middle of January can be a really dark time for us.
The warning comes as health experts worry more people will travel over the holidays, as well as people increasingly gathering indoors due to the colder weather. According to Fauci, the COVID-19 situation will further worsen in the next couple of weeks as a result of the Thanksgiving holiday. He also expressed concerns about a potential surge from the upcoming Christmas and Hanukkah holidays.
The problem is that's going to come right up to the beginning of the Christmas Hanukkah potential surge. So you have a surge upon a surge, and then before you can handle that, more people are going to travel over Christmas.
Against this backdrop, the U.S. hit an all-time high daily average for COVID-19 infections. According to data from Johns Hopkins University, the country saw a record high average of 196,233 cases over the past 7 days. The milestone comes after the country reported the highest single-day tally at over 227,000 cases last Friday. The number of hospitalized patients in the U.S. reached 101,000 on Sunday, marking the highest tally since the outbreak of the pandemic. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
And Britain becomes the first Western country to roll out COVID-19 vaccines on Tuesday. The country is among the worst hit in Europe, but could be the first to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And Canada is also set to follow Britain's move. Our Lee Kyung-eun has details.
Britain is set to hit its milestone in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic on Tuesday as it starts dispensing the vaccine against the infectious disease. That will make the UK the first Western country to begin vaccinating its population with a drug developed by Pfizer and BioNTech that is known to have 59% efficacy. The decision comes before that of the United States or the European Union. And it's a step toward ending the pandemic, according to the UK's health ministry on Monday, as hospitals prepare for their rollout.
Tomorrow is V-Day, when we roll out the coronavirus vaccine across the whole of the UK, and it's the beginning of the end of this pandemic. We can now see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Some 800,000 doses are expected to be delivered within the first week. And those over 80 years old, residents and workers at care home centers and medical staff are to be the first to receive the shots. The vaccine couldn't come soon enough in Britain, the hardest hit country in the whole of Europe, with over 61,000 deaths.
We think that from the spring, we will see life starting to return to normal. And obviously, the sooner we can vaccinate those who are vulnerable to COVID, the sooner that will be.
And Canada is set to follow suit. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Monday that the first doses of the Pfizer vaccine are on track to arrive in the country next week.
We are now contracted to receive up to 249,000 of our initial doses of Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine in the month of December.
While the vaccine is still pending approval from the health ministry, sources say the decision could be made as early as Thursday. On top of 25 million doses Canada has already secured, it also has option to purchase an additional 56 million under the contract. That is more than enough to vaccinate its entire population of 38 million. Young-eun, Arirang News.
While we are hearing encouraging news on the development of COVID-19 vaccines around the world, some scientists have reservations about the technical and ethical aspects of the human trials taking place. Our Kim Hyo-sun has more.
The WHO has reportedly begun looking into the feasibility of human challenge trials in which healthy young volunteers are deliberately infected with the novel coronavirus for vaccine development. This comes as some scientists have raised questions over the fact that the volunteers have to be exposed to a virus for which there is no cure. According to The Guardian, the 12-member WHO advisory group meeting is aimed at discussing related technical and ethical concerns. The international body explained that the meeting is not open to the public, but will mull over including civil participation in similar discussions going forward. Despite such doubts, many also insist that the risks of COVID-19 to young and healthy volunteers are minimal, while the benefits of the trials to society are extremely high. The UK government has invested about $40 million to back a human challenge trial, and similar studies are also being planned in the Netherlands. Meanwhile, the global health body says receiving COVID-19 vaccines would not be made compulsory.
So it will be up to countries to decide, but the position is that the way it works better is to make sure that people who are in the priority populations to be vaccinated first, that they have the right information and that they can do an informed choice regarding getting the vaccine.
As with vaccines for other infectious diseases, the WHO also highlighted the importance of continued research on the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine as well. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien is accusing China of continuing to go far too easy on its longtime ally, North Korea. His comments come as reports surface that North Korea-flagged vessels have continued to lug hundreds of coal shipments to China over the past 12 months. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
In a recent interview with the online magazine 1945, U.S. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien highlighted the importance of faithfully enforcing North Korea's sanctions aimed at denuclearizing the regime, but accused China of lax implementation. According to O'Brien, China continues to allow North Korean workers into China and make remittances back to North Korea. He added Beijing has also been very lax on the transfer of coal and other commodities out of North Korea. This comes as the Wall Street Journal reported Monday that over the past year, North Korea-flagged vessels have transported hundreds of coal shipments to China. The report also indicates that Chinese-flagged cargo ships have been traveling to North Korea to bring back coal. O'Brien's comments come after the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and Deputy Special Representative for North Korea, Alex Wang, said China's failure to abide by North Korea's sanctions may be impeding international efforts to dissuade the North from its nuclear ambitions. Despite this, O'Brien said Washington is willing to assist the North if it asks for help during the pandemic, even though Pyongyang has yet to report an outbreak. O'Brien said Washington's humanitarian assistance during the COVID-19 crisis has helped friends and foes alike, adding that President Trump has been especially generous with ventilators. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea has reported its fourth case of bird flu at an egg farm in Gyeonggi-do Province near Seoul. The government confirmed Monday that a probe showed it was the H5N8 strain, which is considered highly pathogenic. The country first saw a case last month at a duck farm for the first time in more than 2.5 years. This was followed by a case last Tuesday at a farm in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province and another last Friday in Jeollanam-do Province.
Good morning. A sudden drop in temperatures overnight made many of us shiver on the way to work. Lows were about 6 degrees below the same time yesterday in the capital region, but the sharp winds made it feel like -7. Afternoon highs will also be much lower, but the cold snap should ease tomorrow afternoon. The East Coast is still under dry weather alerts, while parts of the West, including Jeju and Jeollado provinces, will see light snow flurries through this afternoon. Meanwhile, high levels of morning fine dust in Jeju and Busan will eventually clear. Sunny skies then will be featured throughout the day. Daily highs will be 1 to 5 degrees lower across the country. A dry weather pattern stays with us while temperatures will drop below the norms again this weekend. Then we have bone-chilling temperatures on tap for early next week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.